So what we wanted to do as the holidays approach are look at some of the amazing products that are available on the market that you could give as gifts to friends. So these are what I'm calling Nick's favorite things. Oh, I need like a graphic for that.
Or a song.
A song. Song, bunny? No. Favorite things. Okay. This is our first gift show, and we have picked all sorts of great products to show off. Keep going, keep going. And we have partnered up with 4 of our favorite brands to show off their products. The first one is Melissa Pinkerton from SPIRIBAM. Hello.
Me again.
You're back. And who's going to talk about their great lineup of rums. And we also made a cocktail for the audience. This is a Daiquiri Featuring Rum Jme. Audience, what do you think? I think everyone's just getting it right now. You want to give us a little official cheers for the audience?
Cheers, yes.
Cheers, there we go. So we can pull the recipe. Yeah, that's good, Seth. Do that. So this is going to be 2 ounces of Rhum JM, 1 ounce of lime juice, 3/4 ounce of simple syrup. You're going to shake that with ice, strain it into a chilled coupe, and you are done. Simple as that. Daiquiris are great, easy, simple.
Classic daiquiris, not a blended daiquiri.
Not a blended daiquiri.
Some may get confused.
You don't need a blender. That's an inside joke, but we can tell you if you want. All right, so I think the first thing to go off the bat is what is the difference between rum with an H and rum without an H?
The French spelling of rum is RHUM, so this is a French-style rum. This is from Martinique. It is an island in the French West Indies in the Caribbean, but it's still a state of France. So the main difference between rum spelled with an H and rum just spelled RUM is that it's made with fresh pressed sugarcane juice as opposed to molasses. And so most people in the US especially are very familiar with molasses-based rum, so Bacardi, Don Q, stuff like that. So what you get, you can kind of think in your head already, the flavor profile you'd get from molasses, and then the profile you'd get from a fresh pressed sugarcane juice. So it's very vegetal, earthy. And this one specifically that you guys have in your cocktail is the VSOP. That's a 4-year age statement indication on there, 1 year in New American Oak and 3 years in ex-bourbon barrels. And it's aged in the Caribbean, so it's like a very fast maturation process down there. So it'd be like an 8-year rum.
And it's faster because it's
whiskey.
hotter.
Yes.
Okay. So I think the big thing that I love, rums with an H, agricole rums versus kind of the more industrial style, is this is really a much more farming intensive project. There's a lot more of the terroir that comes out because you are really treating this more like a crop and less like a commodity.
Absolutely.
And so do you notice if, like, because they don't necessarily do age statements with these, right? But do you see kind of differences from year to year? Like, would see in a wine? You do? Okay.
We do, for the JM line, we actually have a vintage series, so we do a 15 and 10 year.
Cool.
And those are smaller productions, blended, but that's going to be the best harvest from the season, and then they keep that aging in ex-bourbon barrels for 10 to 15 years.
So similar to champagne. Like champagne, if they have a great year, they'll put an age on it. If not, they're like, hey, we still have a great product.
Non-vintage.
Exactly. So in the rest of the line, so this is VSOP.
Yes.
Do you have a XO? Do you have a VS? Okay, talk a little bit about that.
We have, so those age statements are completely modeled after Armagnac. So the AOC puts together rules for different agricultural products. Armagnac in France, and then in Martinique, we have our Martinique AOC for our rums. And so VSOP, it starts with, we do a rum view. It means that it's aged at least 3 years. And that'll be a VO age statement, so very old. And then you have VSOP, XO, and that's pretty much it for the span of rum.
Because I think if you get too old, it's gonna be like chewing on bark.
Well, the main difference, so you'll see a lot of rums out there that will say 23 or 25.
Yes.
Not to call anybody out, but that's called a Solera method. So there is a little bit of a 23-year-old rum in that blend. But if that entire bottle was 23 years old, again, the maturation process is really fast in the Caribbean. So you get a lot of wood influence. You're basically, at any point in time, just going to be drinking wood water. So you have to add a lot of sugar to it. So that's what a lot of older rums out there will do in order for it to be a little bit more palatable. For our rums, we're not allowed to add sugar. So it's kind of just the expression. You can drink this on its own. I love this for the sipping rum, but we don't add sugar, so it's just a very well-made spirit.
So why don't you pour a couple tastes of that? So there's 2 things that Melissa talked about. One is adding sugar. when you just have a normal rum, there's not a ton of rules that go around that. Basically, rum means made from sugar, and that's really about it. So there's some weird kind of tricks you can do. I know they're trying to change that, but nothing has really happened yet. Whereas the Martinique rum is much more controlled, much more stronger product. The other thing you talked about is Solera. So Solera is typically kind of associated with sherry, but there's a number of different products that use it. And what they do is they throw it all kind of in a big batch. So you're mixing products that have been there for 23 years or more. And so you're kind of getting that combo. So that's what Solera method is. It's kind of the mix of everything, and you kind of pull off a little, add a little, and keep kind of going.
Yep. And it kind of is misleading, especially for Americans who are most familiar with bourbon age statements and whiskey age statements, where those numbers on the label means that's the youngest whiskey in the bottle. So
yeah, there you go. So let's try a little of this. What are we looking for in here?
I mean,
Rum.
this is to me one of the best sipping rums in our entire lineup. You're looking for a good drink. I mean, this is something that can be served neat. You can add some ice, or you can put it in a cocktail mix. It's very complex, so it really kind of plays with different flavor profiles. One of my favorites, you can do like a Boulevardier with the rum, so a little bitter, rum Manhattan, old fashioned, or a daiquiri like you guys have right now.
With the aged rums, you can treat it very similar to whiskey, so you can get away with a lot of this.
Yep.
And again, when you think rum, you also think super sweet. This is not super sweet at all.
Yep.
This has a lot of character.
It being a crop that's fresh pressed, sugarcane is just a strain of grass, so you are going to get very earthy vegetal notes. But the terroir you mentioned is huge. For Rhum JM, it's situated at the base of Mount Pelée in Martinique. So there's a lot of volcanic ash in the soil and the mineral water that they use to cut the distillate with. So that's a very, very huge indicator of like the flavor profile you get from this.
Yeah, this is great. And I do have to admit, rum tends to be my go-to for sipping.
Great.
So it's
good news.
I
That's
love
why I'm here.
all the great examples.
One of your favorite things?
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Weird.
One of my favorite things. Whoa, mind blown. So as we kind of wrap up this segment, what I wanted to tell the audience is that everyone that is here today is going to get their very own sample of Rhum JM. So, and that is kind of the teaser for this next whole segment for the rest of the show, is every product we talk about, you guys are going to get to take home today. So how exciting is that? And the very last thing we're talking about is a Pontiac Vibe. So we have 16, G6? Oh, crap. Aztecs, yes, everyone gets an Aztec. Oh, I miss my Aztec so much.